and wellness in a way of like not trying to live to be the best version of yourself, but establishing this like resilience and adaptability to how much the world is going to change. Hello, welcome to Fake Guru Talks, the year of the cockroach. I'm adapting the year of the cockroach for 2024 for me, because where I want to be, where I am this year versus where I'm going to be at the end of the year, I want a lot of change. Why I'm doing it, and maybe like why you need a cockroach year. Because when you think about cockroaches, you think that they're disgusting, honestly. Like when people think about a cockroach, you're like, fucking gross, ew, my house is infested, I don't want this, get this out, dirty, ew. But that is your perception of a cockroach. How do you think the cockroach feels? Take a second there for one moment. How does the cockroach feel? The cockroach doesn't give a fuck, right? The cockroach is fast. The cockroach gets to where it needs to be. It's adaptable, impossible to kill. Like, I feel like one of the facts that people know about cockroaches is that cockroaches and Twinkies are going to last past nuclear apocalypse. So cockroaches are, thinking of like all neutrality, all emotions aside of how you feel about them, they're resilient motherfuckers. You never know where they're going to be next. You see a cockroach and you're like, how the fuck did that cockroach get in there? Who let that how did it get in here? That cockroach doesn't belong. It's not receiving energy, and I feel like it's pretty contrary to what like self-help says, how you should feel, how you receive things, how you let things happen. I don't think a cockroach forces anything though. I think a cockroach is creative. I think a cockroach just makes it happen. And I think there's a lot of cockroach like things that happen that people don't really want to own up to. People don't want to talk about the cockroachiness it takes sometimes to get from point A to point B. But as somebody who has had previous cockroach years where I've just kind of like gone with the flow of things and just been really adaptable and just knew I had a goal and I didn't know how I was going to get it, but I was going to do what it took to get there, that's cockroach energy. Cockroach energy is making shit happen. I feel like the cockroach is very action oriented. Also, very hard to kill. That is an uncomfortable truth that we don't really want to talk about anymore. But like, the world that we're living in is a lot different than the world that we were living in 10 years ago. And it's going to be, you know, in 10 years, the world's going to be a lot different than it is now. And I think having the versatility and the resilience and honestly, like the life force vitality is something that's really important. The cockroach wants to stay alive, right? I think like once you can find this vitality in your life of like, I want to be alive, what makes me feel alive, how am I going to stay alive? Then it gets a lot more interesting. I think we're also at a point where future planning is a lot more interesting. There's a lot more variables. There's a lot more unknown into what the next decade, 2, 3, 4, like what's the world gonna look like when we're supposed to retire, when you're supposed to retire, when I'm supposed to retire. We don't know. Does the cockroach think about that? No. The cockroach is just like, I want that fucking piece of meat. I'm gonna go get it. And they figure it out. And then everybody's, you know, all these obstacles are flying in the way, but the cockroach is just dodging and is just figuring it out. And I feel like when you have big goals, you need to make big changes to make those big goals happen. And you kind of have to shapeshift at different parts of your journey to get to you where you want to go. So do you need to stay the cockroach the entire time to make your cockroach life happen? To get to, you know, let's say the cockroach wants to get on the yacht in South France. So the cockroach is going to figure out how to get there, right? Maybe the cockroach is going to sneak onto a shipping container and then at the dock sneak onto the yacht. But does the cockroach stay in that energy once it gets to the yacht. No, that's like the adaptability and the shape shifting of getting to where you want to be. And then when you're there, just like put on your other personality, put on your other shape shifting character shoes on. Like, life is a fucking play, baby. So do what you need to do. And last year, I made my Ikigai like the year of Venus. I just wanted it to be like such a receiving year, and just I wanted things to happen to me. But that's not how it happened. I feel like I got the really darker sides of Venus, and I also wanted to spend less time on my phone. And the way those things manifested for me, yes, I did spend less time on my phone. Yes, I was receiving, but it was a very passive energy, and I think that's why I want to step into a very action-oriented year, a very messy year, a year that like shit is gonna happen, and I'm going to have agency through it. I think sometimes you can feel when it's like a receiving year. So I had the Venus year, and the year before that, it was the year of surrender. So I have had these very receiving years where I've just like laid back, and I've just been like, okay, let's see, like, let's undergo all of this gorgeous spiritual transformation. Let's do that. Honestly, sometimes it's not gorgeous. That's the thing that people don't like to talk about like transformation, especially spiritual transformation. Like, I had my Kundalini awakening during my year of surrender. No, I had my Kundalini awakening, and then I made it my year of surrender. And that was hard. It was a lot of energy to adjust to, and to just kind of shape shift and allow myself to transform. And it was like a lot of heartbreak, a lot of deep commitment to following my intuition, to a point where like it was scary, and sometimes it was reckless, but I knew in my body that it was the correct thing to do, and I still stand by those decisions. That's the thing. Sometimes when you follow your intuition, you have to commit to the realization that you might not see results that you want to see for years. It might not make sense for a very long time. Like, it might not ever make sense for you when you commit to your intuition in that sort of capabilities that you are awakening. So it's just like this idea that like time is not linear. We don't get the privilege of having a linear timeline, or maybe it is a privilege to have a non-linear timeline. Who am I to know? I mean, I feel like, you like kind of drift into different realms when you sleep, and it's like, what's real, what's not, deja vu, like everything is very topsy-turvy. All of that to say, my last few years have been very receiving, and the way that it makes me feel the most in integrity with myself is to commit to like an action year by like being a cockroach. I feel like it really goes back to like my anarchist punk rock roots, where I'm just like, I'm a fucking cockroach, I'm gonna figure it out. So like, that's the energy that I'm bringing into 2024. I was talking to a friend about it, like, because when I was, thinking about what I wanted to set my intentions for this year, like the year of the cockroach, I wrote down like a list of things and different ideas of what I wanted my year to be like. But when I said it out loud, I just knew that was it. I knew that it was the year of the cockroach. And my friend was just like, if you know, you know. Like, don't deny your intuition. If you think it's going to be a cockroach year, then it's going to be a cockroach year. And he was just saying, like, you understand your intuition enough to know that that's what it's going to be for you. So I don't know if y'all set like goals or intentions or anything like that, but honestly, even if not for like the New Year's, I think one of the best things that you can do to aid in your development and in your growth is like to be really fucking honest with yourself of like what you actually need and how you think the best way or the best character for you to put on to get to where you want to go. Like, there's so much of this stuff of like, this is what you should want. But if that doesn't feel good to you and you don't actually want those things, then you're going to self-sabotage, so it's not going to happen. So if you need a fucking cockroach year, you know what I mean? Like if you need to save money, or if you're trying to get like debt under control, or if you're trying to like quantum fucking leap and like do these like really intense projects to just escalate you, maybe it's time for a cockroach year. Or like hermit energy too. Sometimes it's just a hermit year. Sometimes you have work to do to get to where you want to go. I'm not the biggest believer in balance. I think it's a very arbitrary word. I think it's a very misused word. I think it's weird that we as modern humans think that we can say the word balance and integrity, as we've literally extracted almost all of the natural resources of this planet for us to sustain the population, and then even how much of the population isn't like sustaining, how many people and animals and environmental disasters are we actively contributing to and exploiting to provide a life of balance with all of this plastic. So it's kind of the word balance for me, it's always seemed kind of like a fraud. So I think people talk about like work-life balance, but I don't feel like I'm ever a person that has a lot of balance in their life. I don't feel like I'm a person that people would like, they would see me and they're like, oh, she's so well balanced. Like I'm in my own fucking world all the time. I love it here. But if I'm committing to something, I'm committing to it, and I'm going full force, full throttle to it. So welcome to the year of the cockroach. We're not going to be balanced. We're just going to embody this energy and see where it goes. So welcome to my YouTube channel. This isn't going to be a book channel anymore. We're going to talk more philosophy here and things. I want to talk more about like my spiritual awakenings, my Kundalini awakenings, my dreams, like opening my prophetic windows and interacting with that and having like these visions come true, and active manifestation, and like honestly like kind of more of like the darker side of spirituality and the darker side of wellness, and wellness in a way of like not trying to live to be the best version of yourself, but establishing this like resilience and adaptability to how much the world is going to change. Because I think that there's just a really big gap right now and to like using all of this like consciousness evolution into things to like help other people and help yourself navigate through it and not like go off the fucking rails. Yeah, so welcome.